All right, so far on this channel, I've made videos about some of the Russian, recognizable Russian giants like Tolstoy and Dostoevsky, and just things that I really thought viewers might care to know about. And I have talked a lot less about what it is that I actually read in my spare time for fun, and the kind of writers that really get me excited. And so today I thought I would talk about the contemporary Russian writer that I am currently obsessed with, and that is Ludmila Pertrushevskaia. So I have this collection of, it says it's 3 novellas. It's really just one novella and 2 short stories. And it's called There Once Lived a Mother Who Loved Her Children Until They Moved Back In. And it's translated by Anna Summers. And this isn't a translator I've heard of before, but I think she did a really amazing job, especially since I read the novella that's in this. I read a different translation of it the first time, and this is so much better. So I thought I would talk a bit about each of the stories featured here, just plot, opening lines, to hopefully get you as excited about Petrushevskaya as I am. All right, so the novella is called The Time is Night, and here are the opening lines. A woman called me, a stranger. My mother, she paused, has left some papers. She was a poet. Could I send them to you? No? I understand. 2 weeks later, I received a folder full of scrap paper, pages torn from school notebooks, even telegram blanks. There was no address or last name. The handwriting on the folder read, Notes from the edge of the table. Here they are. I mean, if that doesn't pique your interest, I really don't know what will. But the protagonist of the story, Anna, is a woman in her 50s, and she's actually a grandmother. So she's got 2 kids in their early 20s, and her daughter has children. And Anna is put in a position where she becomes the sole guardian of her grandson, Tima, whom she absolutely adores, but she finds it really difficult to take care of him since she's so poor. She's a poet, but that doesn't pay super well, and she spends her free time kind of begging for scraps from people, and she's self-aware of this, of her own humiliation. But yeah, this novella is heart-wrenching. It's about family, intergenerational households, intergenerational conflict. I would say it's called The Time is Night because Anna wakes up, at midnight usually, and starts writing all her thoughts, everything that she's going through, and that's exactly what we're reading. It's an incredibly, it's a moving story, but it's a disturbing one too, because you can see parts of yourself or your family members maybe in this family chronicle, because it talks about, how every mother thinks that she's reinventing the wheel and is going to do something better than her own mother, and then ends up repeating the same mistakes. And there's something so relatable and chilling about that. These are the things that we would rather not think about until we absolutely have to, but they're real nonetheless. And there's questions and decisions to be made by all of us every single day that impact our families and the people closest to us. And we might not necessarily have a say in our life circumstances, but we do get to decide how we treat people. And I think that that's something Petrushevskaya talks a lot about. So the second story is called Chocolates with Liquor, and it's about a young couple where the man is abusive. And I just want to read the opening lines for you. 1 second. Okay. So chapter 1 is called The Housing Question. And it goes, Nikita left his wife, Lelia, but for the time being, he let her and their children stay in their 2-room apartment. He didn't mention divorce. Every night he came in at 7 and stayed in his room for 2 hours, watching television or talking very loudly on the phone. The children were forced to sleep in these conditions, but they got used to the noise and to the idea that Papa was not to be disturbed. He and Lelia agreed that he wouldn't get there before 7. From 7 to 9 was his time. So right off the bat, we have a very dysfunctional household. They live under this regimented schedule where Lelia gets to have the apartment to herself from, up until 7 p.m. And after that, her husband comes in and it's like a whole other world. So this story is about what Lelia does during the day, how she provides for her children, the kind of measures she takes to safeguard against the danger that is her husband. And the other chapters look at how they met, like we kind of go back in time, how they met, why they got married, and so on. But a lot of critics say that Pertrushevskaia's prose, like while so depressing, there's like a glimmer of hope. And I'll just tell you here and now, I don't think that's the case. I don't see hope in these stories, unless it's that you take hope to not commit the same mistakes that these people do and not to enact the same cruelty. I find them ultimately bleak and upsetting, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't read them, and that doesn't mean that they can't be worthwhile reads, right? So the final story is called Among Friends, and it's about a friend group of people in their early 20s. They're all married with kids, and they gather at this one couple's house every Friday night to just drink till oblivion and forget all their troubles. But obviously, they can't forget them. The results of their Friday night gatherings have very real implications on their marriages, their children, and so forth. So here are the opening lines. I forget the name of our narrator, but it doesn't matter. She says, I'm a direct person, always smirking and poking fun when we all get together at Marisha and Sergei's on Fridays. Everybody comes. If one of us misses a Friday, it must be because he or she couldn't get away, or has been banished by the enraged Marisha or the entire gang. Andrei, the informer, for example, was banished for a long time after socking Sergei in the eye. Can you imagine? Sergei, our bright star, our precious genius. Sergei has figured out the working principle of flying saucers. That's right. I looked at his calculations. And then it goes on to talk a bit about Sergei's scientific work, which, by the way, is a complete and utter sham. The theory that he takes credit for was actually discovered in a different country a long time ago, but nevertheless, no one seems to care. He gets his promotion at the university. And that's just one example of the kind of scheming, morally degraded kind of character in this story. I hope that I've given you enough to go off of just by talking about the text alone, but just a quick word on Pertrushevskaia herself. So she is alive today. She is a leading figure in the Russian dissident movement. She's an open opposer of Putin and of his invasion of Ukraine. She has a hilarious interview, which I'll link below. It was from the LA Review of Books, and it was conducted in 2021. And just off the top of my head, I remember the interviewing asking Pertrushevskaia, she says, so how do you feel about the claim that every good contemporary writer came from you in your work? Like, what do you think about Vladimir Sorokin or Viktor Pelevin? And Pertrushevskaia replies, I actually don't know who you're talking about. I haven't heard of these people. And mind you, like Pelevin and Sorokin are like two huge names. But Pertrushevskaia is so nonchalant about that, she just can't be bothered. And the interviewer asks her, name 5 great books you've read. And Pertrushevskaia says, I'm a writer, not a reader. And the interviewer asks her, how do you feel about Tolstoy? How do you feel about Anna Karenina? And she goes, I never even read that book till the end. Like, personally, I think Tolstoy is a graphomaniac. So I just find her kind of public persona to be so engaging and just subversive and unique. And I think that she's great, and I think you should read her, and I hope you have an amazing day. Take care. Bye.